Hello everybody and welcome to NBL Overtime. The off-season continues, plenty going on. The Brisbane Bullets get a new man while losing not one but two. We'll get to the bottom of that. Summer League's right around the corner and your chance to win as well. Plenty to get into as I am welcomed by superstar and NBL legend, Mark Worthington. I got it out there. I didn't know you were though.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm confused.
Well, someone just called me Mark before and no one calls me Mark.
Well, I heard you ring up a radio station last week after the football and give your real name as Mark Worthington and won a prize. So congratulations on that as well. But welcome.
Thank you, mate. I appreciate that. There's nothing like a good drive back from Bendigo to stay awake.
Have you used the prize yet?
No.
What was the prize?
I haven't claimed it.
What was it? Hotel
night, yeah.
Yeah, well, you got somewhere to stay if you ever become homeless.
Yeah, thanks, mate.
There you go. Liam Santa Maria. There you go. Well, now I'll make you feel better by stuffing
Thanks, mate. I appreciate that.
Liam, hello. Welcome to you.
Thanks, mate. Let's get into it.
Plenty going on, and you can get involved at home anytime you like. Hashtag NBL Overtime, hashtag NBL20. And we'll start with the Brisbane Bullets because they, during the course of the week, made an announcement. In fact, made a couple of announcements, boys, and one was that Lamar Patterson and Cam Besto will not be a part of the Bullets next year, but we'll see Taylor Braun, as we look at some of these highlights. North Dakota State and University has been around the G League and the NBA in different parts as well, which is a little bit as to how he's ended up, which Liam will tell you the story in a moment. But this guy's going to be a slasher. He can get to the basket. He's going to be fun to watch, that's no doubt.
Yeah, they wanted someone who could do a little bit of everything. Obviously, when you're moving on from an all-NBL first-team guy, you need to make sure you fill that spot well. But I like the fact that they've found a good fit. Ooh. They've seen what they've got in Nathan Sobey. That changes the way the team operates. You know they're going to get out and run more than they previously have done. And they wanted a guy who could slide in next to Sobey and next to Glidden and that crew and fit in well. And Taylor Braun coming off the recommendation from Joe Ingles, saying he plays a lot like him. That's going to work out quite well. And he can just do a little bit of everything. He's a really locked-in defender. He can put it on the deck, get to the rim. He's reliable from the perimeter. And at the right price, I feel like he's a really good pickup.
The big thing were, though, last year, Brisbane did a really good job, 4 or 5 minutes. Lamar Patterson, we spoke about this a lot. He let the game come to him, and then when he had to take over, he took over and had big moments late. Now, Nathan Sobey's, of course, there. One, we don't 100% certain if we're going to know this guy can do the exact thing, but is it a concern that they might lose that late in games?
Well, I think the knock on Nathan Sobey last year was his game management in the last 2 minutes of a game. So we don't know what he's going to be like under Andre. The thing that I like about Taylor is he's a slasher. I think he's still doesn't have a consistent shot from what I've seen so far, but something that he's working on. But he seems to be a really good locker room guy. And that's the thing that came out of all the stuff that I did the research on. He just seems to be a really good dude that's not out to get his, but like you said, will fill the pieces. He'll rebound. He'll make the right pass. He'll be athletic. The connection of him and Sobey on the fast break now becomes really, really exciting for me in Brisbane. We don't know what he's going to be like at the end of the game because they were able to give it to Lamar Patterson and say, all right, make the right play. And majority of the times, he was like the modern-day Robert Rose where he made the right play at the end of the games. It will take time for us to figure out what he's going to be like at the end of the game. But for me, Brisbane needs someone like that because they don't have it in Cam Glidden, they don't have it in Jason Kadee, they don't have it in Nathan Sobey, and now they don't have a four-man at the moment. So a lot's going to be put on him to be able to perform that role in the last 2 minutes.
I think it's a really good question. And you're right, it is a little bit of a wait and see because there is no solid answer to say, yes, they have that guy in any of these guys because I don't think there is evidence to suggest that they do. So we'll see. But what I will say is that this front office and coaching staff, well, certainly Andre Lamanis and Richard Clark, the pair of them, they've had plenty of success before building a championship roster over a period of time, right? So they did it in New Zealand. And as they progressed from outside the playoffs into the playoffs to then winning 3 titles in a row, there was tinkering with the roster. There was changing. This guy goes to go out. We need to change and we need to be a bit more of this and a bit more of that and we need to get the right guys. And then eventually they were at that level. And, okay, 2 consecutive wooden spoons coming back into the league, but last year was a huge step forward. Now they're growing again and moving that roster around, finding the right pieces. And the challenge now is to continue that ascension.
The interesting thing for me is the NBL's changed so much that he can also play a 4 spot with his athleticism, which allows you to have Kadee, Sobey and Glidden on the court at the same time. So they do have that option. We know that they're looking for a power forward right now with Bairstow not coming back. But because the NBL has changed again, that allows you to have an athletic four-man, and we saw in patches that Lamar Patterson was able to play that four spot sparingly. This guy's another level of athlete that they didn't have last year that will allow him to be able to tinker with their lineup a little bit.
And they want to be more athletic and quicker. And I like the fact that they, like I said before, they look at what they've got in Sobey and they say, all right, well, we've just signed this massive free agent recruit whose star has continued to be on the rise. What is he? What does he do? How does it all fit together? And so they look at Cam Bairstow and they look at Lamar Patterson and they go, well, they're sort of half-court guys at both ends of the floor. And that's not what we want to be this year. We've got to move in a different direction.
You spoke to Richard Clark, the GM, over the last couple of days, nbl.com.au, to read that article. And not just Lamar Patterson, but Cam Bairstow also will no longer be at the Brisbane Bullets. What did you take away from the conversation you had with the GM?
Well, I mean, moving on from Lamar Patterson is huge news,
massive.
Right? He was massive last year as an MVP
Could we see him in the
candidate.
league anywhere else?
Maybe. I asked him that question, and he said certainly that could be the case. He said, look, as we said, all NBL first team. And he was their closer. He was a guy that could do a little bit of everything. And to come in midway through a year and make the all NBL first team, you have to be some kind of player. Casper Ware did that 3 years ago. And Lamar Patterson did it last year. And he basically said, look, he costs too much. We tried to renegotiate. We offered him a pay rise from last year, and we weren't able to find something that would make it work. And it was one of those ones, it was similar to what Vince Cravalli came out with about Casper Ware, where he said, we got to a point where we felt like we were going to compromise too much about the rest of the roster if we were to go to that level. Now, some fans go, hey, he's a superstar. Pay whatever you need to pay to get him. That's certainly what Melbourne fans felt about Casper. Some felt about Casper Ware, and what some Brisbane fans are feeling about Lamar Patterson. But that's one point of view. The other point of view is to say we're going to put the pieces together, and that's not going to work.
I'm going to channel my inner Carey Homicide Williams. I'm going to channel my inside Corey.
There we go.
Which two teams need a small forward?
Melbourne
and
Sydney.
Perth.
Well, Perth with Tarico White still up in the air, yeah.
Sydney 3-4.
If I was Corey Homicide Williams, I'd be like, watch this space. Perth, Melbourne. They're circling him right now.
What does Wortho think?
Yeah.
I think he would be a really good fit at the Perth Wildcats, personally.
I think it'll be...
I think having that dynamic, and Tarico White was sensational in the final series, we know that, and I'd be surprised if he actually comes back because of the offers that he's currently entertaining. But if you look at a guy, he sort of fits the Perth Wildcats, sort of the way that they go about their business. He's a no-nonsense sort of guy. He's really good in the half court, and pairing him with Bryce Cotton, I think that's really, really exciting. So whatever you're willing to pay Tarico White, I'd be equally interested in paying that to Lamar Patterson and pairing those two on the wings.
The Wildcats came out yesterday and talked about what they want to do in Summer League, and they said we're looking for a 5-man at Summer League. They obviously do still need a small forward. They said quite clearly in that release that Tarico White continues to be their priority. And I will say this. Firstly, I felt like Tarico White was the perfect fit. And they went into Summer League last year saying, we need a guy who's a knockdown shooter. We don't need someone who can put it like Lamar Patterson is a guy, you give it to him late in the shot clock and he'll snake off on-ball screens and he'll get into the paint, he'll make things happen. They're like, we just need a guy who can come off picks, catch and shoot, and who can, when Bryce gets doubled, we can find him on the arc and knock it down. And that worked a treat in terms of winning the grand final series. And that Perth Wildcats organisation, this front office with Trevor Gleeson at head coach, Troy Georgiou as the CEO, over the last few years it's flown a little under the radar, but they have got some pretty amazing deals done. Like Bryce Cotton for 3 years was mind-blowing. When Nick Kay was hot property on the free agent market and Mitch Norton, signing both those guys to 3-year deals. And sort of solidifying the future of that franchise while staying competitive and winning the championship, that's incredible. So I think yes, he's getting good offers from South Korea and the like, but I think if they set their mind to getting Tariq White, I have huge confidence that they'll get him.
The thing with Lamar Patterson is, and we see this a little bit as well, took a little while to get into the season as well. He was probably a little bit out of playing shape when he actually got started, although I think he had like 7 steals in his second game, where I think a lot of us thought he's still got a lot of improvements to come. That's a disappointing thing for us basketball fans, is that half a year into the NBL, or NBL a little bit more, full pre-season under his belt, he was just going to go to another level. But I also think that Brisbane, from all reports, Joe Ingles, recommendation as well, always goes a fair way too. This is a guy that is continually discussed at a fair enough, high enough rate. I think this is going to be a fairly good player for the Brisbane Bullets. Just on Cam Bairstow.
Yes.
He's also, and we're talking more about Lamar Patterson, that's been more than news because it's an import replacement, but...
Well, from a chat with Richard, what I found is, because Bairstow, them declining the option on Bairstow is old news. They did it at the start of the free agency. The question has been, well, are they going to be willing to renegotiate with him and bring him back if he doesn't find something else out there? And Richard Clark made it really clear, we're moving on. We're going in a different direction. We want to get more athletic.
And that probably lays a little bit to the fact that they're going to play a little bit of a different style. You speak about Sobey and with Braun, they're going to run, even a little bit different with Lamar Patterson being out, but they're going to run. And Cam Bairstow, who I thought had a really good year, and I think a lot of people have a similar understanding, but not going to sit into the tweaking of the Brisbane Bullets game plan.
Yeah, it's interesting. There's only one team he can really go to now, which is the Cairns Taipans. So if we don't see him at the Taipans, then obviously he's going overseas. But if you're the Taipans, I'd be looking at him. I mean, you don't have much of a squad at the moment, right? And he's a guy that I thought got better as the season went along, remembering that he'd had 2 years off with injury. Mike Kelly's got to figure out the style of play that he's going to play with, but I can see Cam Bairstow up in Cairns.
Could he land in Melbourne?
I don't know. You tell us.
Which team?
Melbourne United. I mean, what they missed last year, Melbourne United, was that post presence, which Ty Wesley offered them in their championship year. Dave Barlow starting at the 4, and they had DJ Kennedy at the 3. They've still got spots. How you bring it all together and how much you're willing to pay in the luxury tax, that's a whole different question. But, boy, imagine if Bairstow landed there at the 4 and they signed an import 3 like they had last year and they bought Barlow off the bench.
A lot of that might depend on Summer League. We're going to see, of course, in the next couple of days, Summer League, the NBA Summer League, or one of them, the main one, start in Las Vegas. And, of course, Liam Stantonberry and I are going over, so I can't wait for that one.
Thanks for the invite, fellas.
Must have got lost in the mail. Either way, though, as we have a look at the way that some of these players are going to look at it, and the connections and all the rest of it, and there's a really good article, nbl.com.au, check out Liam Stantonberry, giving you a wonderful look at the Australian-based players over there, and, of course, the imports who, of course,
Kiwis.
linked in the NBL, and, of course, Finn Delaney and the Breakers as
Jack
well
Salt.
as a Lakers. Oh, Jack Salt's an interesting one. We might discuss that in a little bit.
What about Cam Luke?
Hey, is my name up there? You called me a definitive erratic point guard, which I think a lot of people thought that was actually a crack at me, and it's the most complimentary anyone's ever made about my game.
I try
so
to be as accurate as I can be. And I was trying to remember what used to be on the scouting report. And erratic came to mind.
Yeah, well, I was always argumentative with the coaches that just because I take bad shots doesn't mean erratic. At least I wasn't turning the ball over. I was putting the heat on the rim, but we do digress.
Were they? Who are you excited to see
Yes.
at the Summer League?
Well, I'm not going to be there, so...
It's on TV.
But from my couch...
We'll be sending a lot of stuff back in
I'm actually interested in Jack Salt, to tell you the truth.
Oh, yeah?
Just for the simple fact that I know he's been working out with an ex-Sydney Kings teammate of mine in Anthony Sussenjar.
Oh.
And the videos that I've seen online, like, that guy's a big slab of meat. Like, he's got the NBA body type, and even though he didn't get drafted... I'm interested to see how he goes against the athletes, to see how he compares in his game. And then, obviously, selfishly, I'm really interested in Mitch Creek and Finn Delaney as 2 players that are established in our league. And obviously, we want Mitch to make it to the NBA. But we talked about Finn Delaney last week. Is he able to make that jump into a consistent player and get his opportunity at Summer League.
Jack Salt's a really intriguing prospect. You know, obviously collegiate program, very good collegiate program, and then of course the Breakers will be still sniffing around for obvious reasons, and of course their step up to the NBA, which is going to be fun to watch, or how he does go. But Mitch Creek is for about 10 different reasons. One, because he's on the verge of continuing to live his dream in the NBA with the Minnesota Timberwolves. He's doing a wonderful job. I've got a theory that he is going to play for the Timberwolves. I ran this by Liam. He didn't really buy into it. But he's featuring a lot on their social media channels. And I have a theory that if you're going to continually show someone who's in their backyard on their social media channels, you're a lot closer to probably signing a contract than maybe led to believe. But also...
Let me make it clear. Yeah. I did buy into the theory that he's going to play for the Minnesota
Timberwolves. Yeah, you
did. Right.
You did, but
just
you didn't
not for those
buy my
reasons.
theory. But do you hear what I'm saying?
It makes sense.
Yeah, it does make sense.
Yeah.
I don't think the Timberwolves are going to show a kid who isn't going to probably make the roster every second day being a part of their community activities and on the practice court. But I do digress. But also with the South East Melbourne Phoenix situation as well, because that changes the direction of the franchise based on what happens with Mitch Creek and the Timberwolves.
I wrote in the thing today that it has been the biggest question of what has been a wild NBL off-season, and it's been lingering. They announced the signing right out of the gates, before free agency, because he was not an NBL player at the time. So it's been lingering around. Well, is he going to play for the Phoenix or is he going to play in the NBA? And it's going to be fascinating to watch him. He's going to get plenty of burn with the Timberwolves. I chatted with him the other day and he said, it's a business trip. I'm treating it like a business trip. I'm trying to get in there, get the job done, lock it away and move on from there. And there's going to be Tommy Greer and Simon Mitchell and Romy Shatter in the stands watching every little bit of it. And it completely pivots what they need to do in their recruitment depending on how things go with him. And do they need a point guard? They're going to sign a point guard. Do they go a centre? Do they go a small forward? What other local guy do they get? It's going to be fun to watch.
We know that Ty Wesley is an import this season. Is he a chance to become a local mid-season, or is this going to be a season-long thing? Because obviously this is the real pivotal piece in all of it. Obviously, we don't know what Mitch Creek is going to do or where he'll end up. But having Ty Wesley as an import really hampers what you can do going forward.
I would say it's unlikely. I have no idea if there's even the process there within, but it's unlikely. And I would say that Phoenix will, in actual fact, be recruiting as is. And if he all of a sudden bobs up in the middle of December and it works out that he's no longer an import, that works for them. I think they can go and find someone, but they'd be recruiting as I think a lot of people would think he will be an import for the entire year.
A couple of other guys who I think who are going to play plenty of minutes. Isaac Humphries with the Clippers. Brian Bowen, going to be fun to watch him. Now, at that NBA level, like, how does he go with Indiana? And also Deng Adele, who lit the Cox Pavilion and the Thomas & Mack Centre up last year after not playing the first couple of games, blew up. And that was with the Houston Rockets. Had Mike D'Antoni coming around talking to him after the game, whispering in his ear saying, wow, keep it up. Then he went and signed the deal with Toronto and then ended up at Cleveland, played those 19 games. But he's going to be back with Houston is the latest word, who, bringing him back, they obviously want to have a really good look at him, and his game really suits that Summer League style.
All right, from an NBL perspective, we'll just run through the clubs. You won't spend a great deal of time. Adelaide and Illawarra, Adelaide are full, Illawarra on the verge of being full, so you'd think while they will have some representation over there, that it'll be mainly the other sides that are looking. Let's start with Brisbane. Power forward, what they'll be looking at Summer League for, you reckon, boys?
Yep. An athlete.
An athlete, get up and Richard Clark's put it on as a quote with you, so just one who gets up and down and is fun to watch. Hey, all right, how about Cairns? Cairns, obviously been a fair bit of talk about it, and the fact they haven't signed a great deal just yet. Are they just go out and get anything? What do you think? They're your boys, they're in your backyard.
Well, this is the first thing I'll say. I don't think we've been in a situation where every other club has been so close to being locked in so early in the off-season. So, yes, it looks bad for the Taipans, but it's probably not as, panic stations as of yet.
In past years, they're just doing it the normal way. This year, in relevance to the other clubs, they've locked them in, so it looks different.
So I think for the Taipans, obviously they need a point guard to replace Melo Trimble. I think they need a wing player that can flat-out ball. At the moment, if they bring back Nate Jarwai, they'll probably need a four-man. But either way, they'll need a 4 or a 5. So they've got obviously pieces that they need to fill out, but 2 of those imports need to be absolute guns.
Yeah.
And they got, obviously, Mello Trimble was right last year. Devon Hall didn't pan out the way that they, I think at the start of the season we thought, wow, this is going to be a fun team as far as shooting the rock. It just didn't work out that way.
Devon Hall will be at Summer League as well.
But
Okay,
I haven't
see
seen confirmation on that yet.
Okay. Is draft rights still owned by the Thunder, or am I wrong?
Yeah, I believe so. He
Okay.
went back and played a little bit with their G League affiliate.
Yeah.
But I have not seen a Oklahoma City confirmed roster yet.
Okay.
But the Taipans need a lot.
Yeah.
I reckon they need 3 studs. I reckon, because DJ Newell was really good last season, especially in the first half of the year. Mello Trimble was really performing well. But they never at any point had all 3 of those guys rolling
well.
on the same night.
No.
And they had 2. Newell and Trimble had great games, and Hall was on the outside. And then they had Hall would come up and play some good games, and DJ Newell wasn't getting involved. They need, with the roster that they're putting together, they need 3 really legit imports for me.
You're right with us. In a pre-season game, Cairns were in Melbourne, took on Melbourne United out of Dandenong in the pre-season. I know you were there, Liam, and everyone left thinking this is going to be a really, 1, fun team to watch, but 2, they're actually pretty good. They're actually a really good team. Now, it didn't quite stick because of that exact reason, but they can find guys who can gel, probably more so than the 3 they had last year. It's going to go a long way to helping them.
I'll say it again.
What are you hearing about Jai White, actually? Anything?
I haven't heard anything. But all I can tell you is he's in fantastic shape right now. Like we're
He was
talking
14 kilos, someone said.
I'd say it'd be more than that.
Okay.
So he's in great shape at the moment. I'd be surprised if he doesn't land there again, but who knows?
Melbourne United. We touched on it a little bit before, and you mentioned obviously with Lamar Patterson, and you think he would fit, if not Perth there, but one of those spots. What do you reckon, 3-4 for Melbourne United?
I think they need.
Hang on a second.
Yeah, you're right. Go.
No.
Remember last week when
look.
he said he's got a feeling that
He's
Trevor
got a feeling,
Gleeson's going to bob up doing some work for
What's your feeling about
No,
Melbourne United?
I don't have a read. But I'm interested to see what they do with those 3-4 spots, because right now they don't really have a starting 3. They still have the 3 guards in Trimble, Golding and McCarron, trying to make that work like they had with Ware last year. They started Barlow last year. We went over this before. Are they going to start him again, or are they going to bring in a 4-man?
Yeah.
What are they going to do with those 3-4 spots? Fascinating to see. They've already got 2 imports signed. But I'm also... it's fun watching all the different teams and the way they operate at Summer League.
He's not telling us something.
He did.
He's not telling us something.
Yeah, he's got something.
You can spin all you want, mate.
No.
You've got that look in your eye.
What I like about how they do it is they hold meetings in the stands, and right up the top of the stands, you'll see the coach chatting with someone, and you're like, "Who is that guy you're trying? Who is that? No, he's an agent of blah blah blah." Or in the foyer, they meet up. I remember last year, Mike Kelly, and he was tracking down this agent. That turned out to be Mello Trimble's agent, and he was like, got that conversation. Vince Crivelli and Dean Vickham have set up a situation at the Venetian, the big hotel casino, where they get a suite, and it becomes their office for the week. And they hold meetings with agents and players there. They watch a lot of the games on the TV, come into the arena when they need to. And it's just a bit of a different way of approaching the Summer League to what the other teams are doing.
So they don't have money for Casper Ware, but they've got money for a Venetian suite to host. All right.
Now, of course, we mentioned Cairns and the fact they still have 3 import slots to fill. So do the New Zealand Breakers, of course. And it probably gets overlooked a little bit because of the RJ Hampton situation. And, of course, Corey Webster's had a great off-season, and Finn Delaney, who you touched on. We spoke about this last week, but you're right. Webster and Delaney, considering their off-seasons, in particular Corey Webster, put their hand up and said, hey, I want to start and I should start, and that will make this a little bit different for New Zealand Breakers and their representatives.
I'm not going to name a name today because I haven't got it sort of confirmed, but I had someone slide into my DMs and say that the Breakers have inked or are close to inking a veteran 2-3.
Okay.
A guy with a little bit of NBA experience and a lot of European experience, and a bit of an older guy. And looking at his highlights and researching him, he looks legit.
Okay. So you're not going to throw out a name?
No, I'm not going to throw out a name. I haven't got it confirmed, so I'm going to keep that under wraps. But
Just
if
so-
they do have that,
Before you go any further,
Yeah.
did you get this from a DM from a guy who owns an office near another office near New Zealand Breakers training headquarters?
no, it's from a.
Okay. So it's a legit source.
It's from a really good source,
Okay, cool.
but I like to get it confirmed by
of
someone
course,
else.
and fair enough too.
But let's assume they do that, and that sort of fits what we sort of panned out or mapped out last week. Because there's a guy who could legitimately play the 3 in the NBL. From there, I think they're going to be in the market for a 5-man.
They have to replace Sean Long, right? They
Yeah,
have to.
would think so.
And I saw the report on Rob Lowe as underrated, but he's not a starting centre in this league, unfortunately. And until he shows otherwise, he has to be the backup. So they definitely need a replacement for Sean Long.
Very
The
hard to
third-
find. Very hard to find.
Super hard. Then the third import becomes, what do we need? And it's probably a backup 4-man for my liking. If we're going to go with what Corey Webster and his body of work in this last series, you'd assume that he'd be a starter. If they go with a 3-2, as you're not telling us, then obviously they've got RJ who's going to play minutes with Jared Weeks behind. Then you're looking at a backup 4-man there.
An import to backup Finn Delaney.
Well, you're the one that said that he needs to start.
No, I'm all in on him starting.
Yeah, what I would do if I was New Zealand, and I'm all in on Corey Webster and Finn Delaney starting as well, and I think a 2-3 combo person, and of course Hampton as a starting point guard, which is what we all think. I'd start with 2 imports.
Me too.
I'd start the season with 2 imports,
A 3
see
and a
how
5.
it plays out, because Finn Delaney, as talented as he is, and hence why he's in this situation where he is, as we all agree, consistency is the next step in him becoming a really legit basketballer. But yet, in the NBA on the periphery, or the G League, or the NBL, wherever it might be in the near future. So that's the thing. If he's great, run with the 2 and just see how it goes, and then you can assess as the year goes on. But if it doesn't work, then you can say, let's try and bring someone in as a
Because
4.
last week you were thinking more of a backup combo. You've flipped to a backup 4.
Well, I think a combo 4-3, 3-4. They're the same position these days. Like basketball's positionless, essentially. I think if you cover across that range, obviously you need a solid 5, but from the 4 to the 2, if you can get 2 guys that can cover those 3 spots, I think you're right.
Which is kind of what they had last year in Patrick Richard and Amani Moore, which...
It didn't work out.
Right. It'll be interesting to see whether they...
But that's because you place so much more on Tom Abercrombie to perform, which he probably had a bit of more of a down year. And then Finn Delaney was patchy and Ty Wesley was your guy at the 4 spot. So I think they need that again, a spread across the board, but it's going to be interesting. What are you hearing on the coaching front?
Just before you get, I'd leave a slot open in case RJ Hampton does struggle a little bit as a starting point guard.
Well, you got Jared Weeks there, and I think Weeksy showed last year that he was a really handy backup point guard and actually stole minutes from Shea Ely at the end of the season. So I'm happy with Weeksy there.
As a starting, if it works out that way, that's my point. So we talk about guys coming out of college in their first professional job. And as great as it is Hampton, and I can't wait for this, LaMelo Ball and Hampton to be here, but we talk about the adjusting from the NCAA in their first professional job. This kid's coming out of high school.
Well, this lends itself to the big question I have over about the Breakers, and I'm going to ask Matt Walsh this question at Summer League. What is this season about for the Breakers? Because if you're bringing in a teenager to be your starting point guard in the Next Stars program, that's super exciting. We can't wait to watch it, how it plays out. Is your season now about RJ Hampton and his development and where he gets drafted? Are you trying to win the championship? Is it a combination of all of those things? And if so, how does that combination work? Because I think establishing the answer to that question helps you decide what imports you need in those other spots.
I noticed that Kevin Braswell wasn't on the list of people going for the New Zealand Breakers. Where does it stand? Because that's the other big piece of the puzzle. It's all good to have a vision, but you need someone to run the ship. And at the moment, they don't have anyone. Well, Kevin Braswell's there, but it's sort of, moving parts.
It's a bit messy. And my understanding is it's a process of, there's negotiations coming in when you sign a contract and when a situation like this, there's
yeah.
negotiations going the other way.
Now, we touched on South East Melbourne Phoenix and the Perth Wildcats a little earlier. They'll both be, of course, complicated more so for South East Melbourne Phoenix and Perth, as Liam told us a little earlier. It's all around Tareko White and where that sort of sits, and he's the main priority. But on the Kings, 3-4, just trying to essentially just fill someone of the same role as what David Ware, or they hope David Ware would have played
Andre
a little better
Iguodala,
last year.
That...
Well, I see him on Twitter today, said they could throw a free golf membership in over here. So there you go.
Okay, here it is. What did he say? That's bogey.
That's bogey. I did say you could go back with something around golf membership.
He looks good in the...
He does look good, doesn't he?
The purple and gold, doesn't he?
Tell you what, it would be huge. Now, of course, it's a pipe dream, and who knows? Andrew Bogut has spoken about.
We thought Andrew Bogut playing
recruiting
in the league at this point in his career was a pipe dream.
That's also true.
We thought playing NBA teams would be a pipe dream.
It's not that far-fetched. If you looked at Bogut and how refreshed he looked coming back after a season with the NBL, we know Iguodala's been doing this for a long time. If he came out here, like you said, I'll probably win the NBL MVP if I came out.
Yeah.
Did he say that?
I think so. I'm pretty sure I read something.
Fair enough.
He said, like, wouldn't mind putting an MVP trophy on the cabinet.
Oh, the disrespect.
But you couldn't tell me that he couldn't do exactly what Bogut just did and be super valuable. Like, he's been so good for the Warriors in the final series over a number of years now. Imagine if he's freshened up, he doesn't have the little niggles that he had at the end of this season. I mean, it is far-fetched, but you get excited thinking about the potential of him. Like, maybe I will come to Australia for a couple of months.
CEO Chris Pongrass said with that spot, their priority is to get a defensive-minded 3-4.
He sort of fits that mould.
Defensive-minded 3-4.
If it's not Iguodala, it'll be someone a little bit
similar
like him, because obviously they looked at what they had last year in David Ware and the issues they had on the glass and defensively, and they said, well, we need kind of the opposite to that.
We know that LaMelo Ball will be in the NBL, that's for certain. A little Drew League highlights as well. And it's interesting because you see snippets on it through social media, and here's some Drew League from LaMelo Ball.
Oh, my boy Eli Scott. I coached him at LMU.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
He's been putting up some numbers.
He has been putting up some... He had 25 the other day. Might have been
the ball's popping around. Have we got highlights of LaMelo? There we go.
You know what I love about this? Everyone knew he was going to take this shot.
Oh, this is where he bounced it.
Yeah, he bounced to the crowd.
Yep. Nice.
There you go. This is what I want to see. Who do you reckon? What crowd do you think he bounced to first in the NBL?
Oh, you can only hope it's Perth. If it happens in Perth.
If he bounced to the crowd in Perth and he becomes public enemy number one, what's our main man Carey going to have to do to get back in the...
No, he's not going to be an enemy in Perth this year. He's all about the Wildcats.
That's what he says now.
He's all about the Wildcats.
He's going to be an enemy in Sydney.
If they don't have it in
Sydney.
Sydney.
Yeah.
And Jason Kadei's house.
Oh, yeah? Oh, wow.
Oh, of course, the Kadei thing. All right, just quickly before we do that, if you hashtag NBL overtime to get involved, hashtag NBL20. Of course, while the NBL's not too far away, there's a lot of international play that's going to be happening before the tip-off as well. We know the USA are going to be here and New Zealand are going to be here as well. Canada has a lot of excitement. And you, all thanks to the NBL and TEG Live, you can win 2 front row tickets. The International Basketball Series. Have a look. What you need to do right now is you need to jump online, nbl.com.au/series. Terms and conditions do apply. $100 NBL store voucher up for grabs as well. But so much good international basketball in our backyard. The Boomers, USA, Canada and New Zealand. Get involved, win tickets, front row tickets.
Ooh, wow.
nbl.com.au/series. All thanks to NBL and TEG.
So where are these tickets for what games? Because if they are in Perth, you might be sitting next to Drake.
Is Drake definitely coming? We raised this because Drake is a client or a sponsor or a commercial partner, whatever terminology he wants to use, of the team that is, of course, head coached by NBA champion head coach Nick Nurse. So it could be you, Drake, Nick Nurse.
Massages.
Yeah.
Is Wiggins
Team masseuse.
Is Wiggins? This Canadian team is an interesting one as well.
That is worth entering.
Yeah.
100%.
Make sure you do it, nbl.com.au/series. All right. Now, I don't actually know... are you doing anything for NBL overtime while Liam and I are in Vegas?
Yeah, I'm hosting the local version. It's just going to be myself. I'm just going to talk to myself, just like you do on radio all the day.
Exactly right. And don't let people like you ring up and steal all the good prizes. On that, though...
Cam, you missed this is a little homage to my man Tommy Greer here.
Go on.
With the Tommy Hilfiger polos.
Yeah.
Sad that, obviously, it's going to be fun.
Oh, geez,
It's going to be fun.
Thanks, Lee.
But
Sad I'm going to go with you.
But no more TG. And I just want to put the word out ahead of time before we head over.
Yeah.
I mean, he was on this side of the fence.
Yep.
Last year and the year before, holding the microphone, asking the questions, trying to get things out of the GMs and the coaches. If we fire questions at the Grizzle Man
You reckon he'll...
and he tightens up,
Yeah.
we're not going to be happy with that.
And as we've already spoken about, it's the main question. There's so much to play out in the next couple of weeks.
There is a lot
but
to ask.
Mitch Creek...
On a daily basis.
Daily basis.
And so you
Mitch Creek gives us a triple-double in game one. It's just going to heighten the
Just
speculation.
putting it out there. He needs to be ready to chit-chat.
All right, at NBL, make sure you jump on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, everything else. Lamb Centre. We had people asking about our individual Instagrams the other day too, which gave us a little boost.
Don't bother with that.
You can check on nbl.com.au as well, because if you're unsure who exactly where is going to play who and who's going to be involved, CJ Bruden, of course,
Yes.
going to be involved as well. Trevor Gleeson, both in a coaching role over there as well. So jump on, check it all out. See you at the airport. See you in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, see you when I see you.
Enjoy the cold weather. NBL 20 to get involved. Hashtag NBL 20. Hashtag NBL overtime. Until we see you in Vegas, taking NBL overtime on the road.
I didn't want to go anyway.